Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Baker, and this is Mama Stories. I created Mama Stories after seeing how impactful sharing stories can be in overcoming the challenges of motherhood. I am where I am today because of the stories of so many amazing, strong mamas, and I want to share that with every mom I can. So follow along to laugh, cry, and be empowered. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. Have you heard about how we are changing the story for moms? Mama Fund is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to providing products, services, and education to moms in need. So check us out at mammafund.org. All right, welcome back to the show, Kori, our midwife expert. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're just in the same exact chair. It's been 3 seconds for us and a whole week for everyone else.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk all things midwife.
Yeah.
And first, I'd like to say I walked into your birth center today, not really knowing what to expect. And it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so pretty. And I'm in this room right now, in a room where probably a lot of magic has happened. A lot of beautiful
Many
births.
babies have been born here.
Tell me how a mom knows that this is an option for her, because I didn't know that this is what a midwife experience could be like.
Yeah. So how do people come to us? I ask a lot of people how they heard about us. I think a lot of people have either done reading or watched movies. The Business of Being Born is like this a movie that like really Ricki Lake did it, and she did it like brought a lot of people. It actually created a huge fear of hospitals, which is I don't necessarily support that, but it made people think about other options outside of the hospital for birthing.
And what's it called? The Business of Being?
The Business of Being Born.
Okay.
I mean, that's a lot. So that's how a lot of people come to us, like through reading about their options or stories that they've heard from other women. We get a lot of people through word of mouth. You can Google, birth center in Portland, and the Midwifery Birth Center will come up. It's the Women's Healthcare Associates Midwifery Birth Center. And so people will just like start to Google. They'll look at their insurance to like see who's in network through their insurance, and this is one of the options that comes up.
Okay.
But I definitely think many people don't, like the average Joe, the average Jane, does not know what midwives are a lot of times, or generally, and that we do births in hospitals or that birth centers exist. And I think, it's a great option for somebody who is wanting a low intervention birth. So the most support that we can give to physiologic birth. So if you're somebody who an epidural is the right choice for, then a birth center isn't the
because
you
do
best option.
Not do epidurals.
No, there's
here.
no epidurals.
Okay.
Most birth centers don't offer like pharmacologic pain relief. So any of the opiates or we do have nitrous oxide here, and I think all of the birth centers in Portland have nitrous available.
And that is to
help with coping in labor, or help. It's like a pain management tool that you can use, but it's the only pain or medication that we use to help with coping with pain in labor. But otherwise it's really like position changes, support, using the water. I think the childbirth preparation that we do here is really helpful in helping people start to like imagine and think about how they cope with things that are really challenging in their lives, because we've all had things prior to birth and parenting that are challenges that we've gotten through in our lives, whether that's like you run a marathon and like what makes you keep going, or that hurts at some point.
Yeah.
Or just like emotional things that people have gone through, grief, what are the tools that you have inside of yourself to get you through those things?
And when a mom signs up here,
yeah,
is that, you're saying that's something you guys kind of assess as time goes on?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, we do a birth class series that's 4 classes, and it's based on Nora Tallman's book. She's one of our midwives here. She wrote a book called The Inner Work of Birth, and over her 30 plus years of being a midwife, she sort of studied like, what does it take to cope with labor, and what things support coping with labor and what things inhibit our ability to cope. And so we talk through that in our birth classes, and we have people like think about their own experiences in their lives, and then also come together with their partner. And it's almost like what is it? The five love languages.
Yeah.
But it's like your pain languages. Like, what do you want? What you want when you're in pain is probably really different than what your partner, or can be very different than what your partner wants.
Sure.
But we do that thing as humans where we come at people with the thing that we would want,
Yeah.
instead of what's helpful to them, when you're like just trying to be helpful.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have women and their partners talk through that basically in one of our birth classes. And
Okay.
so, I think because most of the preparation that we do is like, it's like emotional, psychological, like how the way that our brain interprets the sensations of labor, which are really intense. Like, it takes an enormous effort, and you're going to experience things that are more intense than you've ever experienced in your life. So like, what is driving you to do this? What are you wanting to get out of this experience? What do you want to learn about yourself? And also, like, what have you used in the past to help cope with experiences that have been challenging to you?
So when you say that, it's not, I don't want to say the word funny, because I feel like I say that all the time, but it is interesting to me because for me in my birth experience, I picked just an OB.
Yeah.
But I also just kind of like picked a hospital because we went and viewed a hospital, and I ended up liking that hospital. Sure. So I went there, and there was a midwife on the option.
Yeah.
But I actually had no clue. Like, it seemed, for me, I was nervous because I was like, oh, I don't really know what that means.
Right.
So I'm just going to go with an OB and call it good.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between like that list, like a midwife there, or like finding a birth center?
Sure. So I work for Women's Healthcare Associates, which is a huge obstetric and gynecologic care provider organization in Portland.
Okay.
So WHA is, I think we have 15 clinics and sites, and 150 providers. So in this organization, there are everyone from perinatologists who take care of the like highest risk, most complicated pregnancies. And then there are OBGYNs who take care of they do like moderate risk care or lower risk care. And then we have midwives who deliver in the hospital. And then we have midwives who deliver here at this birth center. And midwives, people get them, are, I think, often wonder if you have a midwife in the hospital, if you can have an epidural. Or even, I guess, here, like, we always tell people, like, it doesn't mean you can't have we have hospital privileges at the hospital that's less than a mile away. If, like, at the birth center, if you would like to try without an epidural and you feel like it's not that you're just, we try to get people to come up with like positive motivation instead of just negative, like, I'm scared of hospitals motivation.
Sure.
Like, but what is it that you want to experience, you know?
Yeah.
But if you would like to try to give birth with like low intervention, then this is a great place to start. You know, and like I said, it doesn't mean that we can't go to the hospital for an epidural or using Pitocin, or if we need a cesarean, like, we have great OBs that are our partners that we work with that are happy to help provide whatever kind of care is needed for the women that we take care of. And that's also true with the midwives who are in the hospital. You know, we work in partnership and in this very collegial relationship with each other. Yeah. And to provide, one of our like taglines is like providing the right level of care to the right patient at the right time, so that we can, like, there's people who come here who something have something a little bit more unusual or complicated come up in their pregnancy, we work with the perinatologist to help them through that. Sometimes they come back and sometimes they need to stay planning a hospital birth, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And a midwife who delivers at a hospital under your like umbrella you were just mentioning, they just deliver there. It's their only difference.
Yes.
So is it under like the midwife umbrella to do like this natural birth? Is that just like the theory?
So
behind?
I would say midwives are probably have more of an interest in supporting. I want to be careful about how I say this just because I don't want to like give misinformation, you know? It's like I get this opportunity to put this information out into the world.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. So it's not that OBs don't want to, they're happy to support physiologic birth, but they also have the ability to intervene in ways that are more surgical, you know, so if needed.
If something comes up.
Yeah. And midwives are like sort of geared towards the physiologic birth, whether that is, you know, a labor that where someone comes in, they just have a very like straightforward labor. They give birth with no medication, no intervention, or they have intervention. And that can happen, just sort of depends on women's choices and also like their level, like their health and their level of risks and things that come up in pregnancy where they deliver. I
remember when I was very new on to being pregnant and I was with my OB and I told her I wanted to do a natural birth.
Yeah.
I didn't really even know what that meant, to be honest, but I thought it sounded cool. And I was like, I just want to do a natural birth. And she actually suggested that if I wanted a natural birth to hire a doula or a midwife to be in the like birth room with me.
Yeah.
And then I actually got to interview a doula.
Oh, nice.
Who's coming on the podcast.
Great.
Well, by now we'll have already been out. But and she talked a lot about that, like just supporting the patient was really her main goal. But she also mentioned that as a midwife, you guys go through a more extensive amount of schooling.
Yep.
So you can provide like medical information
so we're
as well?
doing, midwives are providing the same, I would say the same plus. It's like more geared towards education but like, so we provide the standard prenatal care. We're doing the prenatal care throughout your pregnancy, doing all the blood work, the ultrasounds, all of that. We have, and I think, you know, we come at this from, I'm a nurse midwife. There's also certified professional midwives who don't work in the hospital. They just do home birth.
Okay.
But as a nurse midwife, we come through the like sort of to midwifery through nursing, you know? So it is this like really like patient care and connection is like a big part of the philosophy of midwifery is really like connecting with people. And it's like, I'm not saying that OBs don't want to do that, but it's more, I don't know. I think that, I don't know if this is my imagined difference, but it's like, you know, it's a different like orientation to taking care of people. And we provide a lot of education and information
seems like that.
Yeah. Like here at the birth center, we do longer prenatal visits. So 30-minute prenatals, return, you know, hour-long first prenatal visit. Like we really want to get a chance to get to know you and build a relationship with you. Mm-hmm. And I think especially in like a birth center setting where your intention is that we're going to be with you in like a very physically intense experience, you know, if you're intending to go through an unmedicated birth, we need to be able to trust each other. That's like a huge aspect of, you know, you need to be able to look at us when you think, oh my God, this is crazy. And like, we're like, yeah, you're doing a great job to like believe us that we're not just crazy, you know, that we're not crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
To believe us, to say like, okay, wait, this is what women go through to get these humans out here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Is there a different schooling? You said you're a midwife nurse.
I'm a nurse midwife. Yeah.
Okay. So
I got a master's in nursing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you could just like you could go be a nurse and you could be a midwife.
Yep. I could work as a labor and delivery nurse, but it's like so the nursing degree was a bachelor's in nursing, and then I got a master's in nursing to be a midwife.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did that before you had kids. You mentioned that on the
did,
previous podcast. So what drew you
to be a midwife?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that when I was driving here, because I was like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. So I learned about midwifery when I was in undergrad, and I was studying anthropology, and I was studying medical anthropology. Like, I knew that I wanted to do something related to healthcare. And the professor that I had a midwife, a home birth midwife, come and speak to our class. And I was like, it just was like this light bulb moment where I was like, well, that makes a lot more sense. Like, changing positions in labor to facilitate, like, using gravity, to help with the baby moving down and like things progressing, and just, and it was sort of this like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do with my life, and I was, 21, and it was like, okay, I'm going to be a midwife. And the woman that I met happened to be a nurse midwife. So I was like, I'm going to be a nurse midwife. And there I went. I graduated from undergrad, and I applied to like a lot of different schools, and many of them were like, what? Have you ever been to a birth before? I was like, no, I just know I want to be a midwife. And they're like, huh.
Is that like a thing normally when people apply for that they've been involved?
People have maybe been doulas or nurses before.
Okay.
And so some of the programs were like, why don't you go get some experience for a year or so and then come back to us, And but I felt so certain that it is what I wanted, that it was like my purpose in life, that this was like almost like a calling, and which is a good thing, because it, when you're getting up and there is a passion in this work that you have to do it, because it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's a
24/7 job.
And it's really intense. It's like, yes, I mean, everybody's like, oh my God, it's so amazing, so magical. And I'm like, yes, it is. But it's also like the responsibility of having essentially 2 lives in our hands.
Oh man,
is huge. And things do happen, and we're responding and taking care of. So it's like, it's a beautiful and incredible job to get to witness the like power in women. And it's also, it's a hugely intense and sometimes frightening, and sometimes like, sometimes you question like, wait, why am I doing this again?
Wow.
But like we're trained. I worked as a midwife in Texas with one of my first jobs near the border at a really old birth center, and with an old midwife who'd been doing it forever. And she was like, anybody can catch a baby that's falling out. Like, you went to school to be able to help people when things aren't totally like straightforward. And I was like, yes, like it's not all just like rainbows and unicorns, and like, that's okay. That is why I chose to do this work, is so that I could be helpful to people.
Yeah. And it's hard because the mom wants to see rainbows and unicorns.
They do. That's my job, is to like make them feel like they get to see the rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes, it's rainbows and unicorns, and sometimes you're just like, okay, that was a little, scary. And I will own that side of the stress, and like, so she doesn't have to, you know?
Where did you end up getting into school then?
So I went to Columbia for to get.
That's a great
which
school.
Was so fun. It was like, I lived in New York City. I was so young. I like did it. I did the nursing part in a year, so it was my second bachelor's, and then I did the master's. I did it part-time with a bunch of my friends, and I'm like, I'm young. I live in New York. They're giving me loans to like live here. It was so fun. And it was good that I did it. It took a little longer because I'd walk in as a labor and delivery nurse. I'd walk in and they'd be like, are you 12? And because I like looked so young, and I was so young, and they're like, oh my God, who is this girl?
So were you, when you started school, did you have to start doing like on hand, like practice?
Nursing things.
Can you share like your first ever like birth experience and what that was like? Or?
God, the first baby I can remember the first baby I ever caught. It was an accident as a nurse, and it was a little baby that we were inducing forever and ever and for a very long time. And then suddenly, like, the baby was flying out and the resident had just gone down the hall to use the bathroom. And I was like, oh my God, I just caught a baby, but it was so exciting. I was like so excited, but also was terrified that I was like going to get in trouble because I wasn't supposed to be catching the baby there.
But what are you supposed to do? Just let it
I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And I had the woman had been being induced for so long that I was like, really knew her. So it was very exciting. And otherwise, like the birth, what was the very first birth I went to? Probably, the first vaginal birth I went to, I do remember I wrote a letter to like my grandparents. I forgot about that. Or to my parents, and they sent it to my grandparents, and I was like, I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It was this woman who was having her like 6th baby in New York City, and I like stayed after with her. All my classmates had left, and I was like, I am staying until this baby comes out. And
it wasn't required for you to stay.
And we stayed in touch for a long time, actually. I totally forgotten about that. And I just was like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. You know?
Yeah.
It's just, it is magic. Like it is so crazy. I'm like, this is how we all get here. And yet it is the craziest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're like, a human just came out of you. I'm like, it's so alien and so normal. I'm like, we grow them in our bellies and they come out between our legs. That is crazy, but also so normal. Like, and those little wrinkly heads. I mean, it's just the every time I'm like, this is so crazy. You know?
Yeah.
And incredible.
That's the thing. Like for me, I'm not terrible with like blood and all that. Like, I mean,
now
I guess I could be there. I know. Well, believe me, anytime he bleeds, I'm like, no.
Yes.
Not very good at that for sure.
Bodily fluids.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could do it, but I feel like I just want to be in the room because I just love how strong and wonderful moms are.
Yeah.
However you do it.
The whole universe shifts at like this moment. It's this crazy, it's crazy. And you're like on the brink, like we have these photos or whatever when like the baby's head is out and they're like between two worlds. It's so crazy, and like the whole, it's like the universe shifts. There's a new human here.
Wow. That's a really great way to look at it. They're in between two worlds.
Yeah. And then, it's just so profound. And it's the most, like, we get to be here with people in the most important moments of their lives, and that is, it's like, that is such an honor to get to be with people through that, and to be invited into this very vulnerable space and that like people trust us with that is, I think, so huge and such a like gift to the people who get to be with them. So
yeah. Oh, that is so good. All right. So you've mentioned in the previous podcast, and I think maybe once on this one, but the transfer that can happen. Yeah. So if I'm a mom, or potentially a new mom that might be looking into doing
a birth center birth,
why would I have to transfer potentially, and what does that look like for me?
So there's some reasons that we would transfer prenatally, or plan for a hospital birth prenatally. So if a baby is breech or not coming head first, then we try all of the tricks that we have to turn them. Our OB backups will try to turn them physically. It's called a version. If they, so they just manipulate the belly and try to move the baby to head down. We do that in the hospital, but then if they go head down, then you can have a birth center birth. But if they stay breech, then we plan for a C-section. If somebody's blood pressure starts to rise at the end of in pregnancy, and they develop hypertension, then that's a reason that we would transfer to planning for a hospital birth.
And you would still be with them hospital birth.
Typically, we can still take care of them. So sometimes if like, for example, with high blood pressure, if it becomes so high that it's like, they call it severe range blood pressures, and that actually transfers them out of midwifery care in general into being with one of our OBs. But the feedback that we have gotten as a part of this birth center is that and one of the reasons I came to this birth center is because we can transfer our own patients to the hospital and continue caring for them. Like, I feel like, so if labor is just moving slowly, and we go in because things aren't moving forward and it's been a long time and somebody wants an epidural, we go in, we get them in an epidural, we use Pitocin to help finish this process. Like, the idea is to get the baby out of your body, and women get to the point where they're like, yes, I am done with these tricks.
Get this baby out. Yeah.
Like, I want to finish this,
Yeah.
And, so we transfer them and continue caring for them. And I tell people all the time, like, I've had people who have hypertension who I can still take care of at the hospital. And we've had these beautiful, like, squatting births on the floor, where, like, they have the Pitocin and the medications for induction and we're monitoring all the time. But, like, I can still offer them a birth center type, like, looking birth in the hospital, and they know that we're oriented towards, like, giving them is like using the least intervention possible to get the best outcome is sort of like the way I think that we think about it, so that it's not that we're anti-intervention. Intervention is wonderful. Like, I have gone to Haiti. I've been in other countries where I'm like, where resources are not available, where, like, pregnancy and birth is one of the riskiest things we do as women in our lives. However it ends or whatever outcome happens, miscarriages, terminations, birth, it's a big, like, a huge thing that we do physically. And it carries risk. And I do not, like, I don't pretend that there isn't risk, and I'm so happy that we have the availability of the interventions when we need them. But I think just not overusing, that you can be really assured that we're not going to overuse interventions or just do something because we want to get out of here, kind of a thing.
That's funny. I'll stop you really quick because that was something that, when I said I wanted to do it natural to, like, other moms, and I talked about my OB's recommendation of getting a midwife or a doula, that's what I heard a lot was because, hospitals, and I don't want to particularly say anyone, that they're just trying to get it done because they are busy.
Yeah.
And that's why they will push for an epidural or push for Pitocin, where maybe a birth center or a home birth with a midwife is actually going to give you, like, more of that time. More
space, more time, like less intervention just kind of hanging around ready to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, so that's, like, a big reason that people come here. It's like I said, it's not impossible that if somebody decides that they want an epidural, that we can't transfer for an epidural. But it's pretty unusual, actually, that that's the only reason that we're going in.
Okay.
It's usually, if we're going for an epidural, it's usually also, like, a very slow labor. So we can't give you that, like, but you're almost done. Occasionally people are like, nope, like, actually, I don't want to do this. And I always say, like, there is a look in a woman's eye when that is what she means. And I'm like, we listen to women,
Yeah, and you transfer at that point.
Yes, this is not our birth. Like, we do what we want to support the woman. So, so you have a higher chance of giving birth without an epidural because you have to decide that you want to get in the car to go to the hospital and get it. You know what I mean? There's a pause between it, you know, that makes, like, you have to be like, wait, can I really not get through this? I mean, and I certainly felt that at home where I was like, as myself giving birth was like, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to call this, I'm going to call an ambulance and they're going to transfer me. And this midwife is going to meet me at the hospital. And then I was like, oh my God, they won't even give me an epidural. I'll probably just have the baby when I get there, And it was good that I wasn't already, if I had been in the hospital, and I'm glad that it was, for me personally, it was what I was wanting. I was glad that I got through it without an epidural. I felt like it, like, was able to teach me things in parenting and in, like, cope, that I do have, like, the capability to cope with that level of intensity, and I can get through it, But if we want to go, we can,
Yeah. You're right. It does. You mentioned earlier, it gives you space. I think that's really big for moms to know. Like, it gives you that opportunity to, like, ask questions, I really want this? Think about it in a less pressured environment. Yeah. I could see that.
And it's not, There's so many people who say, you know, that are like in a hospital where the epidural is just, it's available, that it's much easier to say yes to.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, because it is such an incredibly intense experience, you know, that most of us, like, you really do have, I don't know, you have to like know how to, you have to sort of be prepared to cope with really hard things going into it. If you're in a hospital, to continue to want to do it, you know?
For sure. When I said I wanted to do it natural, someone was like, you don't get a trophy. No. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then after I did it, I did not do it naturally. I had an epidural. But after I did it, I literally was like, to my husband, I was like, I'm actually going to make trophies.
Yes.
And go deliver them to moms that do it without an epidural. Because rock star.
Yeah.
And the moms who
but
do
everybody
still
is rock stars. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, you can't, there's no easy way out. I tell everyone that. I'm like, so a C-section, not an easy way out. Like, no. There is no easy way out. Like, once you have a baby in your body, there is no way out. But that is not hard. Truly.
I'll never forget. I was like maybe 30 weeks pregnant, and I traveled a lot for work.
Yeah.
And so I was starting to get to like, okay, in a couple of weeks I have to stop traveling. And and I was sitting at my desk, I'll never forget. And I looked down at my belly and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have a baby.
You have to get it out of your body somehow.
I have to push this thing out. And I had to go to the bathroom. I was like in the bathroom, like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And I'm like weeks away. Yeah. But I'm like realizing now
there is no easy way.
He has to come out at some point.
Many women hit that where they're in that like third trimester. They're like, wait a minute.
The baby showers are over. What am I going to do?
This out here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
What's the next step?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So we were talking about transferring. So you said there's potential transfer before labor starts. Yep. And then what would cause a mom to have to transfer while she's in labor?
So
you said epidural. If she's just too much.
Or the labor's not moving forward, you know, it's like stalled in some way. That's a reason that we would transfer. We do have a lot of flexibility here with like timing, and it's, you know, where it's like a dance. We're trying to figure out what's going to work. We want to like maximize people's chance of having a vaginal birth, because obviously that's what they're hoping for by being here. We want to help make sure things continue to move forward. If somebody's water's been broken for over 24 hours, we transfer to the hospital to help. They're not in labor. So if their water's been broken for 24 hours and they're not in labor yet, then we transfer to the hospital to help augment labor.
Okay.
Again, if people's blood pressure is going up in labor, or if the baby's heart rate is not sounding steady or reassuring to us, and we're like far from giving birth, then we would go to the hospital for more intervention. Yeah.
And when I came here today and I was getting a tour, and it's so beautiful. Like I said earlier, I'm not kidding. I don't want another baby, but I would have another baby just to give birth in somewhere like this.
You can definitely come down here and have a baby with us. Okay. We will take care of you.
I will do that. It'd be kind of a long drive if my labor started. Yeah. But I would totally do it. I don't.
There actually are birth centers in Seattle too. Oh, there's awesome birth centers up there. So should you ever, I am all about women doing what they want to do for their families. Yes. But for all those women out there who are in the Seattle, in anywhere in the United States, actually, pretty much,
check out.
There are birth centers in lots of places.
For sure. This place is beautiful. I will say that. I could like live here. This is really nice.
I know.
I totally forgot what I was going to say, because this happens when I go on tangents. But then now I remember. So when I was getting my tour, I asked how long a mom stays. Yeah. And I know you were talking about your hospital experience. You were gone pretty quick.
Yes.
And so you guys take that same type of process here. So a mom could leave as soon as she wanted, or could stay as long as she wants, or what's the protocol?
So they stay for, it's 4 to 12-ish hours postpartum. Okay. So the idea is that these are healthy, low risk women having normal births, right? Or physiologic births, vaginal births. And they as long as everybody is stable, so we're making sure that the mom's bleeding is really normal, that she gets up and doesn't feel dizzy, her vital signs are normal. We're doing a full assessment of the baby, helping with breastfeeding, making sure that like everything is getting started in a good way. And then we send them home with like the warning signs that are, that everybody gets really for leaving anywhere.
And is there a like reason for the 4 to 12? Like how come at a hospital, I guess in my experience, it was like 24 hours.
So
versus
a lot
here.
of that is for the baby. And we come to your house and do a home visit 24 to 48 hours after the birth to finish up the baby thing. So a lot of that, like feeling like you're held hostage in the hospital, is the timing of some of the testing that happens for babies. So it's the newborn metabolic screening is usually done around the 24-hour mark. We do all of this at the home visit. So we do that, hearing screening, bilirubin. We do a jaundice screen when we come check the baby at the house. And we just feel like you said, that like being for most people, and this isn't true for everybody, but for many people, getting back to your own bed that is comfortable to you, it's your chosen mattress. Yeah. And having your own food, having your friends and family, hopefully like take care of you and support you, you're going to actually recover more easily. One of the things that I think is the hardest about our hospital systems is just like there's a million people that visit you in the postpartum time. There's the baby person, there's like the baby nurse, the mom nurse, the food person, the photography person, the birth certificate person, and you're just like, you can't sleep, and sleep is, if you're able to get sleep, you need to have it. Yeah. My other advice for moms is sleep when the baby sleeps, like
all the time.
Michelle said, one of our midwives here, is like, you need to lay down and nurse. And if you fall asleep while the baby was nursing, then you needed a nap more than you needed to do the dishes in the sink, always lay down and nurse. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Plus it's like a good trick to learn. I didn't practice the side nursing or the lay down and nurse until Grayson hated breastfeeding from like day one. Couldn't do it in the hospital. Oh. But I didn't practice it till we were on like our first trip. Yeah. My husband and I were like, we're going to take this baby on a trip 1 month. Like we're going to do this. And we went to Leavenworth and it was awful, but we did it.
Nobody slept.
He screamed the whole night. But I tried side nursing for the first time. And I remember thinking, why didn't I do this much sooner? Yeah. Because I could like close my eyes and lay down. But then there was like milk dripping on his face from the other boob. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to keep half the bra on to prevent that. Yes. Oh, breastfeeding. Okay. So I when you talk about all those people coming to the room, I am getting like really crazy flashbacks because it is so many.
And there's like the person that takes the vital signs that's not the same as the nurses. And you know what I mean? It's just like, I've had people who want birth center births just for that. Like there's only one person who's coming, and like, we try not to wake people up. Like we will do the vital signs early if we hear the baby crying, so that like that you can like feed you, get everything done while you're up and breastfeeding, and then sleep,
Yeah. And plus this bed looks a lot more comfortable than the bed.
It's like a queen size bed.
I will say the hospital bed was the most uncomfortable. I remember after I got my epidural, I was like, can someone just lift me up and scoop me up? I felt like I was so low.
Falling off the bed in that crack.
Yes. I was like, I know I'm not a small girl, but if somebody, like all 5 of you could just scooch me up just a tad. Yeah. I'm very uncomfortable.
Even with an epidural. It's like, oh my God.
It was so uncomfortable. And I will say, Grayson, we laid him down. First time we ever slept. Everybody's in the hospital visiting. So tired. We had this really awesome nurse who was like the charge nurse and our nurse at that time or something. So she was just a rock star, and she just swaddled him so fast.
Little burrito.
Yeah. And laid him in his bassinet, and she was like, go to sleep. Both of you lay down and go to sleep. And I was like, okay, I'm not kidding you. Head hit the pillow. I think I fell asleep. And then Grayson choked. Oh. And I picked him up, and I
he did
everything
the
I could do.
Spitting up the
so
gunk.
Then I hit
Freaked
the
out.
emergency button, which isn't the emergency button. It's just like
looks like
just could need you. And then I ran in the hallway and started like screaming for somebody.
Oh.
Anyways, it was traumatic. So from that point on, I kept him in my arms because I was too nervous to lay him down.
Oh.
And I remember they kept waking me up and being like, you can't have him sleep like that in the bed. And finally I fell asleep for probably a good chunk of time. And I woke up and I saw this nurse walking in and I was like, we're good. Turn around, leave.
Yeah.
Thankfully she did. But you're right in the sense of like, that's why I wanted to go home, is it was just so uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like I didn't have space for Grayson and I wanted to co-sleep. I liked him next to me.
Yeah.
I, after that experience of putting him in the bassinet, not only was that really a lot of anxiety for me, I didn't like him being that far away.
Yes.
But also that scary moment.
Yes.
I mean, just all those things. Like,
and you just want them like with you.
Yeah.
Next, like right here. Yeah.
And you want to sleep.
Yes.
So it's like,
do anything to sleep.
Yeah. I would have given anything to just like lay in a real bed with him next to me.
Yes.
And just be totally comfortable.
Take a nap.
Well,
and
plus like lay with my husband too.
In the postpartum, I was just telling somebody that the other day. I was like, it's like a 20-minute nap feels like you slept for like 5 hours.
Yes.
It's so crazy. Those first naps you get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us for 2 whole episodes.
Thanks, Sarah.
And talking us through your mama journey and through all the things being a midwife. What I would like to know before we close out is like, if I'm a mom, either I'm my first time mom or second, third time mom, what is something that you would want me to know when I'm trying to make this decision of a birth center, midwife, OB?
I think that just exploring your options, that it's, a lot of people come to us in like after the first trimester is over, unless they just know they were born at home themselves or they had a previous baby at a birth center, that you can transfer to home birth or birth center at any time in your pregnancy. We get a lot of transfers like after, the third trimester, when people are starting to think like, wait a minute, how is this baby going to get out of me? And where do I want to be? And all of that, when you just naturally start to like process that. So I think just most of us, I would say birth centers and home birth practices offer, we call them meet and greets or interviews they're a free visit that you can come and just ask questions and sort of just see get a sense of what feels most right to you, and what works for you, like in terms of like how your pregnancy's going and all of that you have so many options. And that if you have a provider that you feel like that you're not getting what you want from, or that you're not like, that you don't feel like you're communicating well with, that it's really like a service that we are offering to you that you can shop around, and find people that feel like that can provide you what you want.
Yeah. So, and make your own decision.
Yeah. And I think all of us feel like we want people to be where they feel the most comfortable, the safest, and that there are so many options out there for people. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This place really is beautiful. If you are in the Portland area, you have to check this place out. And I will add a link into the episode so people know where to go. But at least just knowing what a good birth center looks like, something to keep in mind when you are looking for birth centers would be helpful too, because this place is beautiful.
It's so awesome. I know people, when we first opened, everybody was like, who decorated, and
it's so cute. I already put a video on Instagram. I was like, this place is so cute.
Put the videos up.
Yes,
we love them.
I will.
Okay. You can do a room one too, because they're awesome. It's really well decorated and done and like clean. It's nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
really
Sarah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. I hope you loved it. Please subscribe to this podcast so you can get the latest episodes, and tell us what you think about it in the reviews. And mamas, I love you.